think that the CDC is going to make a recommendation, their advisory committee, that the vaccine's use should resume. The purpose of the pause that was put in place about more than a week ago now was to give the FDA time to explore whether or not there were more of these rare side effects that they had uncovered. And in the ensuing time, they've done a thorough examination, and doctors would have surfaced additional cases if they had seen them. And while we've discovered additional cases, while the FDA has reported on some additional cases, it doesn't change the underlying equation that this is a very rare adverse event. And so I think that the balance certainly tips in favor of using this vaccine, having it available to consumers and providers. And I would expect the CDC to make a recommendation that this vaccine resume use, and that there maybe be some additional warnings on the label of the vaccine under the emergency use authorization advising consumers, but not restricting its use in any way.
We were talking to the CEO of Cushman & Wakefield last hour, Dr. Gottlieb, who runs this huge commercial real estate company and is living and breathing the reopening trade and the return to the office, and was making forecasts hoping that we would get to herd immunity by July, but also hoping to hear from you on this point. As we get to a point where there's evidence that supply is now outstripping demand, or starting to potentially here in the U.S., do we get to herd immunity? And if so, by when? What's your latest thinking?
Well, look, I don't think that we should be thinking about achieving herd immunity. I don't know that we ever achieve true herd immunity where this virus just stops circulating. I think it's always going to circulate at a low level. That should be the goal, to keep the level of virus down. I think that we are going to get to a point this summer where the circulation of this virus is going to be extremely low. We're probably going to see cases start to collapse at some point in May pretty soon. We're seeing it already in parts of the country. You look at Michigan right now, and cases are in a straight line down. So we're going to get to a point where there's much less virus around the country. But given all the testing we're doing, we might never get below 10,000 cases a day, or maybe around 5,000 cases a day, even in the depth of the summer, because we're doing a lot of testing. There will be outbreaks in summer camps. We'll pick up a lot of asymptomatic and mildly symptomatic infection. I think the bottom line is that the vulnerability of the American population is being dramatically reduced as a result of vaccination. And that's really what we need to focus on. We shouldn't focus just on cases alone. There will be cases, but we should focus on how many people are being hospitalized and getting sick from this virus. And that's going to dramatically decline as we roll out the vaccines. And the final point I'll make is we're seeing supply start to outstrip demand for the vaccine, but that doesn't mean that there's not demand for the vaccine. What is happening is that the sort of ready demand, the people who are willing to line up and go out right away to get the vaccine, we vaccinate a lot of those people. There's still people who are willing to get vaccinated, but they're not as eager to get vaccinated, or they're not willing to go out and go through the same efforts. And so we need to make it easier for those folks to get access to the vaccine as well. It's softer demand, if you will, but we'll achieve higher numbers of vaccinated Americans.
Dr. Gottlieb, I'm sure you've seen situations in India at the moment. To what extent is that because of new variants that should worry us here versus population dynamics there, or lower vaccination rates?
Yeah, it's unclear right now. B.1.1.7 definitely got into India, and that's accounting for some of the spread that we're seeing, the rapid spread. Also, they have a new variant, this 167 variant, that has two mutations in it that concern us. It has a 484K mutation that's found in the Brazilian variant and in the South African variant. It also has a mutation that's found in the Los Angeles strain as well. So it has two different mutations in it that concern us. That's probably accounting for some of the spread right now. We don't really have a good sense how much of the infections are a result of 167 and B.1.1.7. But it's a lot of the infections that we're seeing. The seropositivity in India is pretty high. There was a study out in December showing that probably about 40% of people in the metropolitan areas of that country had already been infected. And so it must be much higher right now. So they may be starting to reach a point where they're going to start to turn over as well. We'll start to see cases hopefully come down because of the sheer number of people who've been infected. They've also deployed 120 million vaccines. Now, that's a lot in our country, but it's not a lot over there. The population's obviously much bigger. It's about 10% of the population, but they are getting the vaccinated numbers up.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.